You didn't accidentally become the person you are today. Everything has been built from choices repeated every single day. Not big decisions, but the moments you chose easy over hard, familiar over growth. Those small things accumulate, shaping your direction. Inside you, there is a system quietly running. It doesn't need your attention to operate. It only needs repetition. When you delay something important, when you avoid a difficult conversation, that system records it and reinforces another layer of old reflexes. You are not weak. You are simply used to protecting yourself from discomfort. The brain always prioritizes safety first, even if the cost is stagnation. You are not standing still because you can't move forward, but because you've become used to standing still. Every time you choose comfort, you are placing a brick into your own limitations. Once doesn't matter, but when it repeats long enough, you begin to believe that it's who you are. In reality, it is only the result of habit. You don't need a major event to sabotage yourself. It happens in the smallest details. One time scrolling your phone instead of working. One time staying silent when you should speak. One time ignoring an opportunity out of fear of being wrong. All of it accumulates. Self-sabotage is not chaos. It has a clear structure. It has its own logic. It operates based on what you have repeated the most. You don't fail randomly. You are following a familiar script you have never questioned. You call it personality, but most of it is just trained reflexes. You think you lack discipline, but you have simply practiced delay too many times. You think you lack confidence, but you have practiced avoidance for too long. No one is naturally afraid. Fear is reinforced each time you step back. Every time you don't face it, you are teaching yourself that the situation is dangerous. Over time, you no longer need to think. You automatically avoid it. You don't notice it because everything feels normal. It isn't loud or dramatic. It's just familiar choices repeated every day. And that normality is what makes it dangerous, because you don't feel the need to change. The feeling of "this is who I am" is often inaccurate. It is simply the version of you that has been practiced the most. If you practice a different pattern of response long enough, you will see a different version of yourself emerge. You are not stuck. You are only bound by what you repeat. When you change your actions, you begin to change your internal structure. But before that, you must see how the system is operating. There is no need for complex analysis. Just observe the moments you choose avoidance. That is where the blueprint reveals itself most clearly. Not in big goals, but in the small decisions you often ignore. You don't need to blame circumstances. Most limitations come from how you respond. Two people in the same situation can move in completely different directions. The difference lies in repeated choices. Nothing changes if you keep the same responses. You can learn more, read more, understand more, but if your actions don't change, the structure remains the same. Knowledge cannot break habits without action. Change begins with realizing you are building your own limitations. No one else. When you see that clearly, you have the right to rebuild. But before rebuilding, you must admit that the current foundation was created by you. Look closely at the moments you hesitate. Not when you fail, but right before you act. That is where everything becomes most visible. You are not stopping because you lack ability, but because something inside is pulling you backward. You know what you should do, yet you still don't do it. This has nothing to do with intelligence or discipline. It has to do with maintaining a stable image of yourself. An image that doesn't want to be shaken. You are not just afraid of failure. You are afraid that failure will change how others see you. You are afraid of being judged as inadequate, wrong, not good enough. And to avoid that, you choose not to try at all. The feeling of hesitation is often misunderstood. It is not a sign that you are not ready. It is a sign that you are protecting your ego. You are not weighing right versus wrong, but safety versus exposure. You don't delay because you are lazy. You delay because if you don't start, you won't have to face the possibility of doing it poorly. Delay allows you to keep the illusion that you could without having to prove it yet. You overthink not to find solutions. You are stretching time so you don't have to act. You analyze, you consider, you prepare, but all of it is to avoid stepping into the real situation. Withdrawal always comes with reasonable excuses. You tell yourself it's not the right time, not the right conditions, not certain enough. But in reality, you are choosing to stay in your current state because it is familiar and less risky. You are not doing this to survive. Your life is not truly under threat. But the feeling of being judged, of failing, of losing control is processed by your brain as danger, and you react as if you must avoid it at all costs. You don't notice it because everything feels reasonable. No one sees you as avoiding. They only see you being careful, preparing, waiting for the right moment. But inside, you know you are stepping away from something important. What you call safety is actually a familiar zone. There, you know who you are, you know what you can do, and you don't have to face any risks. But that same zone also keeps you exactly where you are. You think you are protecting yourself, but in reality, you are protecting an older version of you. A version that hasn't been tested, hasn't been proven, and because of that, it cannot grow. Every time you step back, you reinforce the belief that you shouldn't move forward. Not because you can't, but because you have taught yourself that moving forward is dangerous. Over time, it becomes an automatic reflex. You don't need a big fear to stop. Just a small amount of uncertainty is enough to make you hesitate. And if you always choose safety in small situations, you will never have the courage for bigger steps. The truth is not comfortable. Most of your limits do not come from circumstances, but from what you avoid. You don't lack opportunities. You are avoiding the ones that make you uncomfortable. What you call safety is not always good. Sometimes it is just a refined form of fear, disguised with reasonable excuses. And if you don't face it directly, you will keep standing still without understanding why. You cannot rebuild yourself if you are still trying to hold on to the same sense of comfort. The simple truth is that every change begins with accepting a certain level of discomfort, and if you avoid it, you will return to the exact same starting point with nothing changed. Discomfort is not a wrong signal, it is a sign that you are doing something new. When you start acting differently from your old habits, your brain reacts and creates resistance. That does not mean you should stop, it means you are moving in the right direction. You do not need to wait until you feel completely ready. The feeling of being ready is often an illusion. The people who move forward are not those without fear, but those who act while still uncertain and doubtful. Instead of avoiding, you begin to face things little by little, not by rushing into something overwhelming right away, but through small and real steps. You do the things you once delayed, say the things you once kept silent, and keep your word to yourself. Replacing excuses with action is the most important step. Excuses will always exist and always sound reasonable. But if you keep using them to delay, you will never change. Action cuts that cycle immediately. You have to be honest with yourself, not in a comforting way, but by looking directly at what you are avoiding. When you stop lying to yourself, you begin to see clearly what needs to be done. The truth may be uncomfortable, but it is the foundation for rebuilding. All change happens through repetition. There is no lasting breakthrough without repetition behind it. You do not need to do something big every day. You need to do the right thing long enough for it to become your new default. Pressure is not something to avoid. If you only function well when everything is easy, you will collapse when things get difficult. When you learn to operate under pressure, you begin to build a foundation that does not depend on external conditions. You do not build stability by avoiding risk. You build it by going through risk so many times that it no longer stops you. Confidence does not come from thinking, it comes from repeated experience. You will still feel fear. That does not change quickly. But what changes is how you respond to that fear. Instead of stopping, you keep moving. And each time you do, fear loses a bit more control. You do not need to become a completely different version of yourself overnight. You only need to become someone who no longer returns to old reflexes. This sounds simple, but when done long enough, it creates a massive shift in how you operate. Failures will happen, and this time you do not avoid them. You look at them as data, not as judgment. You adjust and then continue. This process makes you more stable instead of fragile like before. You no longer depend on emotions to decide your actions. You understand that emotions constantly change, but actions can remain stable. When you separate the two, you begin to take control of your direction. A new foundation is not built in comfort. It is built on the days you do not feel like doing it, but still do it. In the moments you want to quit but keep going, those are the moments that create real strength. In the end, strength is not about eliminating fear, but about not letting it decide for you. When you act even while afraid, you are building an internal system that is not easily shaken. And when that system becomes strong enough, you will no longer easily return to the old path.